We are literally going to spit out millions of young men who are craving and ready and teed up to be addicts. There is some new data coming out showing that when states legalize gambling, bankruptcies go up somewhere between 20 and 35%. Gambling addiction actually has the highest suicide rate because if you were addicted to meth, we would know it and we would try and do something about it. But if you got in over your head in online gambling and you felt like there was no way out, nobody knows it. And that's why it has the highest suicide rate of all the addictions. And Richard Reeves, the president of the American Institute for Boys and Men, just came out with a study showing that the incremental deaths of despair among young men has gone up so dramatically since 2004. We've lost an incremental 400,000 men, which is how many men we lost in World War II. And I think it's just going to get worse. And I know this is a terrible prediction, but unfortunately, gaming stocks are going to surge. These private equity companies rolling up rehab clinics are going to see a huge increase. Novo Nordisk and GLP-1 drugs are going to boom because they're going to start using GLP-1 to try and treat gambling addictions. And I worry that we're raising especially a generation of boys who seem to be more prone to addiction, who are just going to slipstream right into different types of drug and gambling addictions.
Hey, you gonna have a Pam?
Who's gonna tell you the women I'm gonna pay? Keep your eyes open in case something transpires. I'm $1 bill. Shut down. Pay no country bum nothing. Nothing.
I said I'm never coming back again. Next I stepped away from the mirror. I got my mind made up now, cause I can see the future much clearer. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber died trying. You see the thumbnail. More importantly, you saw the clip. You know, the next growing addiction. It's not gonna be drugs. Gambling has been an addiction for a lot of people, but I've been seeing this for years. And I've been seeing it live, people who have a gambling thing live and live in color and in real life, and people have a gambling addiction online. And with the US economy going downward, people losing jobs. And even when you're on YouTube, you see this. They have the sports betting, get you a parlay, right? And people don't realize it's a lot of people who, they don't have much, but they got a few dollars to bet. Like it's like the lotto, but on your phone, right? And the lotto's on your phone, but this proactive from fantasy football to fantasy baseball to, because it pays. There are leagues that pay, but all this betting, $5 on this, $10 on this, $50 on that. Bet this amount of money to see, if a person hits their first shot or misses their first shot. I forgot the doggone movie, Uncut Gems, the one with Adam Sandler, when just betting and making these parlay bets and people are going crazy. And I thought about it more and more because I play games on my phone. And one of the games I actually like playing on my phone is blackjack. And there's something I have to add to this conversation because, it goes from the video gamers to I got to pay for my video game habit. And now I'm gambling, right? And I'm playing blackjack and I don't gamble like that. So I'm doing it's the free game, but you can always pay for this and pay for that, just like every other video game now. And I'm in there playing blackjack. And it's me, a lady, it's a female avatar, and this guy's avatar. And the guy is just like, oh, you cute. You look so good. These are not real avatars. These just made up avatars, right? Just made up, digital people. Oh, you got some nice titties. Oh, I'm not exaggerating. Oh, I would love to do this with you and that with you. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, you're online playing blackjack, flirting with an avatar. Bro, your life sucks. But then let me backtrack. Last year, on a cruise, go down to the casino. My wife, she pimped me out at the casino. Why don't you go make us some money? And I actually hate gambling with real money. And me, I'm sitting at the table. I think I told the story. I'm sitting at the table, me, two other guys playing blackjack. And when I tell you this dealer was just smacking us around, just bow, 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 like she just pulling rabbits out of the hat. And one guy, he puts money down, he gets frustrated. Another guy puts money down. We all at the table. He re-ups, gets frustrated, and I'm just sitting there left. And then all of a sudden, when these two up and leave because they just getting done up, I go on a run. And I make the money I lost, make extra money, and then I was like, I got to get out of here because Lord have mercy, this is crazy. But then I thought about it because I thought about other people that I know, and it's like, oh man, if I hit this, then I gotta hit this, and then I gotta hit this, and I gotta hit this, and I've seen people like they can't enjoy regular like life because it's Saturday, it's Sunday, it's Friday, depending on which sport we're talking about, right? And they're out here like, come on, man, you gotta please do this. And it's like, well, what did you do? Like, what did you do? And it's like, man, I'm betting on these games. It's like, you know, and I always had a joke. It's like, why is it always unathletic people betting on games? You look like you eat, you're a professional wing eater, but when you out here betting on if he do this and he gonna do this because I know his game, I'm like, bro, you don't know no game. You know ranch sauce and lemon pepper. That's the only thing you know. But the you know, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. And I've seen people in relationships and now I'm in this relationship and I done gambled the money away. And now I'm trying to get a parlay so we can make rent. And it's weird. And I can't say this is nothing new because when you couldn't gamble online, the stuff I would see people do, I was seeing people doing that in my real life. They get paid, they go straight to the casino and then come back. I got a true story about being in college. One of my not my roommate, one of my neighbors. He because my roommates at a certain point, two of my roommates worked at a casino, you know, and this particular neighbor was like, he got his college refund check, and he was like, "Oh, I'm about to double it," and he went to the casino and lost, the refund. They pay the school first, and then they give you this check. So he's like, I could double it, and that was for his rent. It was his rent money in that part of it. I can double it. And he came back crying. I lost my money. And that's how he cried. And that's how he talked. I know. I remember. Right. So I remember that. And that was 25 years ago. Right. But, when I was a child, people was, like I said, they gamble their money, go to the casino. People in New Orleans know exactly what I'm talking about. They used to go to, was it Harris? I want to say Harris. Like at the end of the canal in like St. Peter. People are good. You got a good job, but they had the casino, And I've seen this, but what makes it worse now is online because you got these cats who are younger. They're addicted to playing video games, and even gaming came. People was betting and getting in tournaments, for money with gaming. And some of y'all know there was fights broke out. Sometimes it was every blue moon it'd be a shootout because people take the gaming so seriously. And if you ever got in the gaming community, you realize it's a lot of highly overly emotional people playing video games who they need some help. They need some help. They really do. You can't just have fun half the time, right? And I don't even play game. I ain't played video games in like 10 years, but that's a whole nother story. But I clown, had this conversation with friends, I've had this conversation with people at work. It's like, yeah, man, people are tripping. They're tripping. And then I think about it where a lot of young people don't actually have skills, in the job market is decreasing. And on top of that, people don't want to hear it, but people think gambling is a skill now. Like what else? I got to figure out a way to make it from this point to that point. There was a recent article. I don't even know how true it is. There was a guy that got in the six figures of debt because he had he had set his DraftKings or who else is that? It's DraftKings, FanDuel, one of these accounts. He set it to like auto bet. He went to like $180,000 a bet, and he was losing. And I didn't know I did it, bro. Don't nobody care. They took your money, and it ain't your money, so now you're in debt. And I remember that because that's going back to me when I was maybe years ago. I went to Vegas and playing blackjack. Actually, I gambled like the last day I was in Vegas. I was in Vegas for like 5 days. Like the day before I left, I gambled. Not gambled 2 days. I take it back. And one of the guys was telling me like, I was like, "What's the worst thing that happened?" He's like, "Man, I seen a guy come in here, bet his whole check, lose his whole check. He couldn't let him out the casino without paying the money. He has to call his girlfriend, his wife. She got to come to the casino to pay his debt and pick him up. And he spent their rent money." I was like, "Oh," and I was winning while I was playing blackjack. I said, "You know what? Great story. I'm out. Take my little earnings. I'm out. Tip get a deal of some cash because I was winning. I'm out." But it's worse with online betting because it's you. And I see this with people with video games and this is what I mean by the addiction. And you got to pay student loans off, and people got to pay credit card debts off, and people doing that Klarna thing to get some money. You're gonna see more people take a chance on online, gambling just to see if they could get something out of it. And things gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then once you go down that rabbit hole, I ain't seen too many people who got a gambling problem that work out too well. Just for the record, But and then it's online. I'm sure somebody messing with the algorithm to make sure the house always wins. So that's a whole nother aspect of it. But this is going to be an increasing problem over the years. But you tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.